7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right, welcome back to Rise to Liberty, and I am joined by Cajun Libertarian tonight. How you doing, Cajun?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Not too bad, just hanging in there, enjoying all the craziness in the world that, we just can't seem to escape for some reason in whatever timeline we're in,
Yeah, never going to escape it, though. I do love your intro music.
Thank you.
And that video, I guess if you want to call it a video, both fantastic. Yeah, you're very welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, it was great. So, first time on the show. Pretty much just bullshit is what I do.
I love it.
It's like to cover some serious stuff every now and then, but there's enough serious stuff out in the world, so it doesn't always need to be that.
That's right.
Like some of these things. So, one thing I wanted to bring up, just get it out of the way, is the LP New Hampshire tweet. How are you feeling about that these days?
That's so funny to me, right? Because it's not like that handle isn't notorious for tweeting out controversial subjects. So it's an easy one, right? There's two perspectives on this. And then you can add the third, which the third has actually been the most attractive to basically the Twitter community. Number one, if you're familiar with the LPNH Twitter handle at all, you know they do this stuff on a regular basis. So the easy thing to do is be the grown adult and keep scrolling. That's what I chose to do. I'm not telling anybody else what to do. I'm just saying I saw it and I was like, that is not something I would tweet, but also I am not shocked that you tweeted it, right? Number two would be, hey, maybe that's not the best avenue for attraction or messaging. But again, you could still be the adult and keep going after that. Number three is the reaction that everybody took. Or not everybody, I apologize. But so many people took. And that was, I must comment on this subject either one way or the other. And there's most of us, or most of the people I feel that are in my camp are like, I'm not shocked by that. It's disrespectful. It's contentious. It's, clickbait, to be honest. But they didn't do that. And then there's the last option where no matter how you feel about the subject, Jerry Jones has been and if you don't know who Jerry Jones is, he's the owner of the Dallas Cowboys organization. I'm not talking about if you don't know, I'm talking about for all your listeners as well.
I know. I'm a disgraced Cowboys fan.
Oh, I apologize. So,
I'm a fan. Me too.
Big fan. Go see Who Dat Nation. I can't stand the Cowboys. Sorry.
Me either.
People are going to hate me for that. It's fine. But Jerry Jones made at multiple times made a great comment. Whether you agree with it or not, there's validity to it. He said all press is good press. It doesn't matter if they're talking good about you or if they're talking bad about you. All that matters is that they're talking about you. So take all of that information with it, what you will, right? But personally, I don't really care what the handle of the LPNH tweet. It's not something I would have tweeted, but I'm also not offended by it. It is what it is. That's what they do. They're known for doing it. So I kept scrolling. I know that's not exactly a hot take. I apologize, Jacob. But
no, it's great. The one thing that I think many people miss dealing with the LP, all the different states, the counties, everything the national party,
Right.
everybody has different messaging.
Yeah.
I personally think we need all of it. I think we need LPNH, and we need fence sitters and the milk toast. We need it all because not everyone is going to react the same to everything. So
let me interject right there, not to cut you off, but I think you're absolutely 1,000% correct. I think, and here's the part where the gatekeepers on every side, right? If it's the Mises caucus, if it's the anti-Mises caucus, and basically that's what all of the controversy around the LP has devolved into, is those two factions. Which, side note, which is a very important conversation, that's a cancer. There's many of us, like all of America, that are not far left and far right, but yet here we are with that subject matter being at the forefront because the far left and the far right of even the Libertarian Party, they're the loudest people. So that's a problem. But again, we need all of the... And if anybody's going to try to contend, nobody ever does. I mean, as far as I know. I kind of live on Twitter, but for anybody condemning me for what I'm saying right now, if you go to that LPNH Twitter handle and you see exactly what they tweeted, right? And you're offended by it or you support it. Either way, it doesn't matter. Or if you're neutral, you go to it and you'll see a list of comments. That was a massive tweet. There's a ton of commentary in it. How many people saw that commentary and said, okay, well, not all the libertarians are sharing that same idea that is good messaging? How many? And how well does that work out, right? So like you said, we need all messaging. Even if it's bad messaging, you'll have people come into that comment section and correct it and say, this is actually what I believe as a principled libertarian, and this is what they believe as a principled libertarian. And now you've got all of the messaging encompassed in one tweet because that one tweet went hot.
yeah, and that right there is why I think it was necessary. Not to mention, it also opens up the conversation for the anti-war movement, which, if the one thing that all libertarians should agree upon is anti-war.
Yeah, me and my wife were talking about this. I went and spoke at the Louisiana Liberty. I've during convention season, I was fortunate enough to be able to speak at many conventions, which is remarkable to me because I'm very much a rookie at this. I've barely been doing this a year, so it's incredible to me that I've been able to go all across the country and speak at so many conventions. That's crazy to me, but I was able to. And one person that I went to met at the Louisiana Libertarian Party convention, she was talking about, to narrow the scope, specifically about Ben Shapiro. And I said, you do realize that Ben's, and look, I like a lot of Ben's insights. Don't get me wrong. I can collect data and information and context from a wide variety of sources. There's a lot of things specifically that I like when it comes to Ben Shapiro, when it comes to law and his take
Agreed.
on the 2020 election. Phenomenal take, right? He completely debunks, in my personal opinion, the idea that the 2020 election was stolen from the ballot box. I completely disagree with that. So does Ben. I really love his take on law. But he's a neocon, right? I completely disagree with his foreign policy to like the smallest degree. And I was talking to this libertarian, I guess quote unquote libertarian. I'm not the guy that's going to gatekeep. And she was saying like, well, I actually agree with that. We do really need American imperialism. And I'm like, okay, there's like 3 things that libertarians absolutely agree on. One is no war. Another is give us our guns. And the third is like decriminalize 3/4 of what's on the books of law, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, I found myself in a very odd position because I completely or almost completely wholeheartedly reject gatekeeping. But here I was sitting in this moment as the speaker at the Libertarian Party of Louisiana convention saying, "Oh my God, like why if you can't disagree on the fact that American imperialism via war is a bad thing, I'm not sure why you're a libertarian."
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, not even just libertarian. Like, why? What are you just doing with yourself? Period. You know, like, I have no sympathy, no empathy for anyone who pushes pro-war agenda.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, let's just call it for what it is. It's pro-death. You know, that's what
100%.
it is. It's just pro-death. And anyone who pushes that kind of mentality or that sort of rhetoric has no place in my life. Period. I don't care what letter they have next to their name. It doesn't matter to me at that point. And you know, the one thing that upsets me about the LPNH tweet is that it was more focused on Megan than it was on the anti-war conversation. I think that's what upsets me more than anything. I don't give a shit about her feelings. You know, like she's trying to, she's trying to profit off of her dad's legacy, which is nothing but death. So I have no empathy, no sympathy for her. But yeah, I think it's great. Honestly, it got the libertarian name to the point where everyone knows we are anti-war, whether they think that way or not. That's what it did. It showed everyone we will not tolerate the warmongers.
Yeah, I think you have a very valid point there. I'm not going to be someone that apologizes for their tweet. I don't care necessarily about other people's feelings when it comes to war. As a veteran, as somebody who has lost many friends in the military and in drug and alcohol addiction, I'm not someone who is going to be very sympathetic to a person like, Meghan McCain. I think that's her name. I mean, she's so freaking irrelevant. I don't even have the confidence to make sure that that's her name. Literally, I'm pretty sure it's Meghan McCain. She is irrelevant. And yes, the post was harsh. And I get it. Dealing with loved ones, losing their life is tough. But at the same time, who are we talking about here? And why are we talking about it? And I think that tweet really digs into those questions. And it was very simple. I actually had to look it up. I was like, I almost tweeted out. I was like, I know y'all have a lot of feelings about this tweet, but I'm confused. Why? What is the holiday? And so I went and looked it up, and I realized it was John McCain's death, right? So I'm like, oh, okay, that's the reason why. And that's pretty good. We're all gonna die. Stop being offended by everything. Dude is a warmonger. He literally advocated, pushed legislation, and sent troops to murder people for the blood money of oil and all the other sacrifices that come with gathering resources during war. I'm not going to apologize for that. I'm not going to be empathetic with you or sympathetic with you just because you in my personal, I may be wrong. Who knows? Maybe John McCain was a really good dad, and Meghan McCain, I think that's who it is, really, was hurt, and that sucks, and I feel for that. Right? I just lost my mom, literally, right here. I just lost that. Now, we're not warmongers. We're not politicians. So, excuse me if I'm going to distance myself from you over the loss of my parent when I totally instinctively feel like you're trying to capitalize on the back of your dead dad.
Yeah, plain and simple. It's that simple to me. It's just really interesting. I have yet to come across a veteran or active duty military member who actually had an issue with it. And I think that says a lot.
That says that, that speaks volumes. That speaks volumes.
And I never served in the military, so I'm not going to pretend like I could ever speak for veterans or active duty. So I'm going to hold their opinion, your opinion, more when it comes to something like this. It's something I haven't experienced. Of course, I can have my opinion, and everyone should have their opinion.
Right.
But also, if you got a better tweet, go tweet it. Stop commenting on it. Stop making it go viral. You know, you've got a Twitter account too. Go make another viral tweet if you got something better, because I guarantee you don't.
Right. So like that is one of the most ironic parts of social media, that so many people, they cannot understand, they don't grasp, and even when they do, they're so emotionally driven, and just their emotionality just confiscates their entire cognitive ability to function. Okay? If you don't want something to get out on social media, don't comment on it. Comments are second best to shares. Okay?
Yeah.
Shares, best way to get the information out there. Second, comment on the post. So
Yeah.
if you
Yeah, it's
want
that simple.
something, yeah, it's that simple. And third is likes, right? It's remarkable to me. But this is really indicative of the societal cancer that we have within the social media construct, right? Not necessarily the whole thing is a cancer. It's not. I think it's a fabulous way to be able to disseminate information and to get our ideologies out there, to be able to recruit people and give them information that they're not going to know, right? But if you don't want certain subject matter that you feel that misrepresents your ideology or your feelings, then keep scrolling, because when you comment, like, or share, you're pushing the algorithm. And this is exactly why I say feed the trolls. Everybody says don't feed the trolls. No, F that nonsense. Feed the trolls, because they boost your algorithm.
Yeah. In a heartbeat. I mean, that's how you grow social media. Anyone who's spent any time on Twitter should know that by now.
You would think, but they still can't understand it.
Yeah, it's amazing to me. So, one thing I want to ask your opinion about is what is the more appropriate route to take when trying to grow liberty? My personal opinion is that it should be done on the individual level, as close to home as possible. And I wanted to get your take.
I'm going to agree for the most part, right? I think, number one, you need to meet people where they're at. Spike and I talk about this all the time. Nobody cares what you have to say unless they hear that you care, right? So it's more or less about asking them what are their pressing problems, and it's almost always going to come down to a select few ideas. At the top is always going to be the economy. It's going to be their bank account, right? And so you can easily push the message of libertarian values, anarchist values, just basic liberty principles through getting the government out of your life. That's going to be a big step forward. But again, nobody's going to hear what you have to say if they don't know that you care, right? And I'll say this too, because this is very important. Not everyone is called to be a messenger of liberty. That is different for everyone. You may be experiencing a moment where you feel this calling, like, here it is right now. I have this opportunity, have the answers. Yes, I would say hit the gas, go for that. But I would reject the idea of every single time that somebody is giving you information, or more importantly, every time you feel the need to inject liberty into the conversation, right? Because you may not be the best messenger for it. There's a great Greek philosophical slogan, and it's know thyself. Not everybody's meant to do that. There's a lot of things that you and I are never meant to do. And there's a large swath of people out there that are much better at that particular thing than we are. And we are much better at another particular thing than they are. So know yourself, know your role. But when you're talking about messaging liberty, if you don't feel comfortable having that conversation, guess what? There's a real easy way to handle it. And that's hit the share button, tag somebody. Tag somebody that you know is much better at it. Because let's be honest, social media is the number one way of disseminating information in our current world as of today. So you don't have to shoulder that burden, because there's also that aspect. When you're shouldering a burden that you're not supposed to shoulder, it will put you in a I guess, a system of emotional damage, right? You're trying to take on a job that you were never meant to take on, and so don't do that, right?
Yeah, I would agree
you pass
completely.
that on.
Yeah, I mean, definitely not everyone is meant to be the messenger, and I think Joe Jorgensen's campaign is key to that. I love Joe, okay? Great person, not a presidential candidate.
Yeah,
So
there's a lot to be said there.
Yeah.
There were a lot of mistakes made during Joe's campaign. Not all of them were her fault, right?
Agreed.
But you can trace them back to her delegating certain, obligatory duties to
Well,
people
and
that
that's the
should.
thing. She shouldn't be the face or the voice, necessarily up front. But that's not to say that she doesn't have her place, just like everyone else does.
That's right.
Not everyone needs to be the face or the voice up front.
Right.
Be a couple of spaces back even. Welcome the new people in, get them start going into the philosophy and introduce them to the other ideas or whatever. Be the person to point them in the direction so they can develop their freedom and liberty mindset. You don't have to be the one screaming out into the void, That's just kind of how it is. I kind of view it as the best ones rise to the top anyways, as Macho Man says, the cream always rises to the top, brother.
Yeah. I literally just said that. Yeah. The cream always rises to the top. There's no doubt about it. And that's what we have to look at, right? Is, again, know yourself, know thyself, know what you're good at, know your failings, right? Hone those abilities. The things that you're less sharp on, sharpen them. The things that you're sharp on, just come back and revisit them and sharpen them at certain times. But just like with all of humanity and every movement and every philosophy that's ever happened, you have a bunch of people that want to fit themselves into a role that they were never meant to be in. And I'm not saying that Joe wasn't meant for that role. I'd say at the very least, she wasn't meant for that role at that time, right?
That's true. That's fair.
Yeah, she can learn a lot. Maybe it would have been a good thing for her. Maybe it's a good learning experience. I don't know. There's a lot about what happened behind the scenes that I know that I'm not exactly fond of. But I do genuinely think that she's a good woman, and she wants the best for the country, and she does want to push libertarian values, which by extension means pushing individual liberty to its greatest point. But I just don't know, and I absolutely question if the time was right.
Yeah, I mean it was a rough time for everyone, including the Libertarian Party. Which I think the scars run deep, culturally. It's going to run deep for a long, long time. We've got a lot of issues coming out of this. And it's interesting. I was just thinking about this the other day, and so many people are forgetting what the last like 2.5 years were like, and it was not that long ago. It's amazing to me. It's like things are kind of back to normal now, but things aren't back to normal. Things aren't like they were before, and they'll never go back to that way again. And I just find it kind of interesting how some people are acting, you know. It's really interesting with the information, which I think is like one of the biggest issues with our culture now is we are in the information war. And turning everything digital, probably not the best idea, you know.
Maybe not, but it was inevitable, right?
It was.
And
It definitely was.
It was inevitable. So we got to figure out how to manipulate, which always sounds like contextually a bad word, right? But that doesn't necessarily make it so, right? A manipulation of an idea isn't always a bad thing because we still want to keep the root truth of the idea, but we want to frame it in such a manner that other people can understand it and receive it and accept it and say, that sounds much better, right? So putting that aside, the derogatory atmosphere around the word manipulation, we still have a duty to curve, manipulate, transform the information that the absolute mis and mal and disinformation that's pouring down upon us. Take that information and mold it to what seems more true so that we can take steps forward, because the last 2+ years has really done us a favor in the long run, in my personal opinion, because you've gotten people that have woken up big time, big red pills. And I have to always, unfortunately, it's ridiculous, I have to always explain this. Red pill does not mean Republican, y'all. It's a matrix reference. Okay, red pill means awake, blue pill means asleep. That's it. It is not Republican, Democrat. So you got massive swaths of the community, especially, obviously, we're going to stay U.S. centered, that are red pilled and that are seeing this information come out now, and they're not accepting it because they full well understand that these are lies. They've been lies for 2+ years, and they've admitted they were lies for the last 12 months, 8 months at the least. They're like, oh yeah, that wasn't true. But yet all of the people got kicked off of social media for saying what was true 8 months ago, 12 months ago, 14 months ago, or for me 2 years ago. And they're still banned from social media. And you still have to work that language to where if you don't say it exactly right, they're going to kick you off. So you must manipulate the language around the last 2+ years into this idea of, if you continue to trust what they're selling you, then you are going to live a life of slavery at best. At worst, you might die from what's happening, right? And that's kind of the context, because they're selling you, if you don't believe what we say, then you're going to die. But the truth is, if you don't question what they say, then you might die. Like on a literal level. But on a more philosophical basis, it's the manipulation of information to awaken people, to red pill people, and say, what we're really trying to do is just get you to question what they're saying, because they've lied to you since the beginning. And I will never admit on any platform whatsoever, including my own, that this was just ignorance, that they didn't know, right? And we're talking about everything from the riots, from the 1-6, from, I'm trying to be careful here because it's your platform. From everything. I mean, I think you all get what I'm trying to drop off here. It's incredible that we've had so many people wake up so fast, and now you literally have major politicians or pontificators on the right from the Republican side saying, "We've had enough. Abolish the IRS, abolish the CIA, abolish the FBI, abolish the NSA, and let's end all foreign conflicts." That's a major thing, and I don't think that we have that if it wasn't for the last 2+ years.
Yeah, I mean that's a really compelling argument, honestly. Um, I would say that it's like the analogy of the frogs in the pot of boiling water,
That's right.
and I definitely think that they turned up the water too quickly,
Absolutely.
and they thought that all of us were too indoctrinated, too brainwashed to notice what was going on, and a vast majority of us are out of the boiling water. And there's, those few red frogs still left saying, "No, come back in, the water's fine." And most of us are like, "No, get out." And so I would agree that if it had to happen, I'm glad it happened the way that it did. I've actually gained more friends out of it, which was kind of an odd thing. I've made way more connections. Eventually this show was going to be started, but I definitely was kicked into overdrive with a lot of things, starting this show. So, odd thing was Clubhouse to me, because I made a lot of connections on Clubhouse,
That's awesome.
and Clubhouse I don't think would have exploded if it wasn't for everyone being locked in their homes and being stuck by themselves all the time. And of course, there's tons of different apps now and stuff that kind of have the same idea, same platform, but it was really interesting for something so horrible how everyone actually came together. And
Yeah.
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, I just find it interesting that most people. So I mean, I'm an anarcho-capitalist in heart. I'm still working out the practicality. If it's if it's practical. However, most people I hear who criticize it, they turn around and say things like, "Well, people are inherently bad," is what I hear. And it's like, what are you talking about? Like, people don't take care of themselves, people don't take care of each other. Like, how do you explain people to coming together after a national disaster or a natural disaster?
Yep.
Caring for one another, caring the society caring for itself is the natural order of things, and then the state comes in and interjects and screws that all up. So, I just find it interesting, everyone coming together in this time of need by something that was started by the state.
Well, you can also look at the fact that these people that will literally laugh at you and call you ignorant and dumb for suggesting that even a small community based in anarcho-capitalistic ideals is ridiculous. When look, their entire argument is based on American ideology specifically. Go look at other cultures. Go look at other cultures. They don't abandon their elderly. Their elderly move in with them. Their children stay with them. They stay as families under one roof, and they continue that commune. And I know everybody hates that word.
That's what it is, though.
Right? But it's a familia commune, right? And they glean from their elderly. This is something I have a big issue with in America right now. And this is part and parcel of this media apparatus stealing ideas from specifically Mao's Cultural Revolution. A lot of people like to conflate with what's going on in America with what happened in the Nazi regime. I get it, okay? There are some similarities. There are. But if you really want to talk about the root of the problem, you're going to have to address all of those communistic and dictatorial regimes. Pol Pot, Lenin, Marx. Mao's Cultural Revolution is the big one. Nazi, Che, Fidel, all of these are absolutely applicable to what's happening right now. But with what's happening in the culture is very reminiscent of what happened during Mao's Cultural Revolution. And one of the big steps in that was separating the youth from the old and making them indistinguishable from each other. And so, going back to whether we can or can't have an anarcho-capitalist society is absolutely ridiculous because it's happened all over the world since the beginning of time.
Yeah, it's the natural order of things. And the state is what's unnatural or unnatural. I'm not sure which, but they're the ones that come in and screw everything up. So always just making things worse.
Yeah, and that's the problem. But look, and then you're always fighting against those smooth brains saying, morose, okay?
Yep.
Look, I'm sorry. I didn't realize that we didn't have roads before the income tax was created. Oh, wait, yes, we did. Okay, so that's ridiculous. And this is really indicative of a society that has been brainwashed to a degree that I didn't even know was real until I got a massive red and black pill, which also gives you, by extension, the white pill, right? Because
agreed.
Look at all of the details, all of the statistics. None of that makes sense. We've for years. You can go back all the way up until prior to Woodrow Wilson, who is obviously, well, I guess Biden is very much fighting for his spot as worst president in America. But as of today, Woodrow Wilson still stands as the worst president in American history.
I mean, I would say Lincoln, but Woodrow Wilson's a close second.
Well, yeah, that's a conversation. That's a conversation for another day. There, a lot of the people are not going to understand what you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people understand Lincoln to be this like savior of anti-slavery, which he was not.
No.
Lincoln was very much for slavery. He said if he could save the Union without abolishing slavery, he would have. But that's another discussion for another day.
Yeah, read a book, people.
That again. So now with that, you're addressing what is our fundamental problem: is that everybody believes what they go and find out in these governmental schooling programs, these governmental indoctrination camps, and they don't question anything or move forward through what would seem to be like, okay, well, that sounds reasonable, but let me see if I can go find more information.
Let me check for myself.
Let me check for myself. They're not going to do it. And so we have to be the ones to, and then you have the secondary part of it. You deal with that on its face, right? And then you tell them, hey, that's not actually what happened. This is not what actually that person believed. And then they get offended. Instead of saying, oh, wow, maybe I should go check that out. So instead of jumping the part of being offended, we need to address that. As a society, as a culture, we need to address that. Why was that person offended from the gate? Instead of saying, maybe that's something I should check out.
I had an interesting interaction the other day. So everyone, at some point has come across some bad information, right? Somebody has said something. And what was interesting is I put forth some bad information on Twitter. And there was really two ways people handled that. I actually posted it to Instagram too, but it was interesting how each platform handles it. But within just a few moments, a friend of mine, Adam Fitzgerald, had corrected me on the information. And coming from him, it's earnest, like, hey, that was, he didn't say this, but, this is the actual information. And I'm like, all right, thanks, dude. we are able to do that because of freedom of speech, freedom of information. And then there's another side of people who typically just make fun of you or criticize you. Just be like, you fucking idiot, you know? And not saying anyone necessarily did that, but it was just really interesting, you know, coming from a friend who had better information and we're able to have a conversation versus people just arguing, saying, no, you're wrong. No, this is wrong, whatever. And I think that that's a true testament to freedom of speech. And that's actually how we find these things out. So even if you do put out the wrong information, hopefully people are surrounding themselves with good people around them that will correct them on the information so you become better and smarter and we can get down to the actual information instead of just making fun of each other or calling each other dumb. I mean, I'm still going to call my friends dumb, but you know, that's for other reasons. So
No, but you hit on a very freaking great point there. Excuse me. And that's something that we absolutely have to acknowledge and we really need to flesh out from a philosophical standpoint, is that if you're surrounding yourself in an echo chamber of consistent thought, right? Everything is the same. It never breaks the norm, the normality of the thought processes that you're surrounded by. That's cancerous. It doesn't matter if you're Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, Green Party, Forward Party, Keystone Party. None of that matters. If you're never challenged on your thought processes by somebody that you trust, then you're living in an echo chamber that's very dangerous. And that's how you wind up with the culture that we have today.
That, and I think we should really look at why we're criticizing people. You know, I try to be very cognizant of why I'm criticizing someone.
Right.
And even against my best interest, I still always try to correct somebody's information in good faith first.
Yes.
There comes a certain point where I throw all of that out the window and, you know, I criticize them to mock them because I think they're just ridiculous and I have no patience for, you know, like Leninists. I have no patience. And so I'm going to mock you, you know?
And the Leninists don't even understand the Leninist philosophy, which is remarkable. Sorry,
exactly.
I cut you off. It's incredible to me. I'm a Leninist Marxist, and we should have moral value. Okay, well, you haven't read none of Leninist or moral of Marxist literature. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, it's true, though. But, you know, I always try to be cognizant of why I'm criticizing because, I mean, there's only two reasons to criticize, and that's one, to make people better, or two, to tear them down. And so, like, that's why I think this LPNH thing was actually, like, really eye-opening to a lot of people. And I really hope, you know, people are taking score, I guess, is a term I could use to be cognizant of who is doing what. And, you know, I don't expect everyone to be on the same level in their liberty journey. However, you should really look at why you're criticizing people, what you're criticizing them for, what your end goal is. And I think that's the biggest thing that I can pull out of pretty much any of the controversies over the past year and a half, at least within the LP, you know, is why are you criticizing it? Do you want these parties to be better? Do you want them to be more principled? Do you want us to actually gain footing, gain ground anywhere? What are we doing?
And you can have that conversation with, there's a lot of people, right, that you could go to right now that are different than me and different from you and say, why are you exactly, I want to get to the fundamental reason why you're so upset about that tweet. And they're going to give you solid, good answers.
Yeah.
But the roadblock that you're going to always run into habitually is, so tell me why that matters. And the circular logic that you're going to run into every time is that, well, it's bad messaging. Okay, well, what's good messaging? and then they're going to give you more circular logic, and you could tear that apart. Why is that good messaging, right? And again, I'm not at all co-signing the LPNH tweet at all.
I'll
Personally, I would
co-sign
have
it.
not tweeted it. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
But again, that's a good example of what we're talking about right now.
Yep.
You'll co-sign it. I won't. But we can have the conversation about it, right?
Yeah, and not
we
beat each
should
other
have.
down and play a purity contest.
Right. It's not something I would have tweeted, but I get it. And I'm
Yeah.
damn sure not about to apologize from some clout-seeking, freaking warmongering daughter of somebody who was a genocidal maniac. No, you get no sympathy or empathy from me, just like you said. I'm pretty sure you said that.
Oh,
No
yeah.
chance. No, I'm so it's ridiculous to even consider anything otherwise. You know, if there was a second of me that believed that she was genuine, right? And it's just like, okay, I lost my dad. This sucks. You guys are being a dick. Then I'm like, you know what? Look, I feel you. That's rough. I get it. But not for 1 second do I think she's genuine.
She tweeted it like 7 times in one day. Made tons of different comments about it. Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that's
she saw an opportunity.
She saw an opportunity. Good for her, right? In
Yeah,
the
I
same
can't hate her
thought
on that,
process.
you
No.
know?
Good
I
for
would have
her.
done the same thing. So
Yeah, she's clout chasing. She saw an opportunity. She's an opportunist, just like every freaking warmonger is, and every one of us that are trying to advance some sort of ideological, philosophy out there, trying to push an idea. And hey, I get it. Okay, I'm not gonna blame her for clout chasing it, but don't expect any sympathy from me when I can clearly see that your intentions are not good when you are pretending they are. If you're going to clout chase and do something like that, then at least be open and honest about it, right?
yeah, be
Everybody
genuine.
loves transparency. Be genuine, okay? Look, this is why X, Y, and Z. I did this, and here's why X, Y, and Z. I'm clout chasing this. Obviously, they're not going to say clout chasing. None of us, really are. And if you're anything like you and I, who are very genuine, then we're not actually clout chasing. We're just trying to take advantage. We're opportunists. We're trying to take advantage of
Oh yeah.
the situation that's laid right before us, right? When it comes to clout chasing, that's when you disguise it as something else when we all clearly know your intentions are terrible.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I think you just have to watch Meghan McCain on The View for 5 minutes and
Right.
know that she's not genuine. And then that says enough. I mean, the whole purpose of my show is I'm pissed the fuck off and I'm tired of nothing happening. So I want to wake other people up and get them fucking mad. That's all I want, because I want them standing right beside me. I don't care what version of libertarian you are or whatever. I want you doing something with me. I need help. I can't do this alone. You can't do this alone. We all can't do this alone, but we all need to be pissed off about these people like her.
Yeah, 100%. And, not to retread, but I think it's just suffice to say, and it's worthy to repeat, that she is not genuine at all. And that's me stepping out on a limb that I rarely do, because I hate to assume anyone's intentions. I hardly
Agreed
ever
with that.
do. But the proof is in the pudding with her, right? So no, I'm sorry. I'm not gonna be sympathetic or empathetic towards you, because I don't think you're genuine at all. And prove me wrong, right? I'm open to it. Prove me wrong, but it's not gonna happen. So with that being said, I don't care what they tweeted about that, one way or the other. I just moved on from it. Sorry, daughter's calling.
No, you're good. We'll wrap up here soon, so I don't keep you too long. But
No, you're good.
one thing I think is interesting. So I watched Adam Fitzgerald's roundtable he had with Reed Coverdale and Jose of No Way Jose, and a couple of the Tower Power guys and stuff, and Eric Jackman, those guys. And I can't remember who made the point. I think it was Reed who pointed out that the only reason this was a big deal is because it came from an official LP account.
Facts.
Like, I have said some really controversial things on my page and nothing. I get 1 or 2 likes, So this came from an LP page, and that's why it's controversial. So that's it.
That's 100% a fact. 100% a fact. And it's a fact because they literally were not shy in telling you about it. Quote, or I shouldn't say quote. I like doing that when I'm on my own show and I have the stuff in front of me. This is from the official LPNH Twitter account. Like, you would not have cared one bit if it was not from a blue-checked, third largest party in the world Twitter account. You would have not cared one bit. They saw an opportunity. They took it. I think it backfired because nobody cares about your feelings when you are clearly disingenuous and pushing an agenda to clout chase on the back of your dead dad, who is an obvious, disgusting war criminal.
Yeah. And I think that's the reality of it, I'm not asking for libertarians to like it or dislike it or anything, but the fact of the matter is you shouldn't be sticking up for her,
No.
This isn't, and it wasn't even poking fun at her necessarily, but I saw this earlier that somebody pointed out that she allowed somebody to take that picture. Mm-hmm. Like that says a lot right there. The fact that picture even exists. If I was in that state and truly mourning, I don't want photographers around. Why do you think most people say, please give my family their privacy to mourn?
It's no different. No, I'm sorry. It is different. It's worse than AOC standing in a parking lot with a fence pretending to cry over freaking children being locked in cages that Obama built for them. It's worse than that. And I will 100% co-sign exactly what you just said. Because you know what happened at my mom's funeral 2 months ago? None of that.
Yeah.
None of it. No pictures. No press allowed. Nobody allowed in there. Not that my mom or I am any sort of public figure that would allow that. But no chance. I don't care. If I was in the Senate or Congress or president and that's what happened to my parents, no photographers allowed. None.
Yeah.
This is
private
our
family
time.
event.
Private family. It was. You'll never convince me otherwise that it was not a photo op. Period.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah, like I said, that the fact that the photo exists is telling enough. Like that's all I need to know.
It's disgusting.
And it really is. And so I think we'll wrap up here because, like I said, I don't want to keep you too long. But how do you kind of feel about a lot of the other... so I'll just put this out bluntly, is the hijacking of the LGBTQ community is how I see it. There's a lot of opportunists who are using that umbrella, who so many people fought for, who have a right to fight for, and they are now using it for nefarious purposes with children.
You said it perfectly. 100%. No question. No question about it. That's good. Yeah. No, I personally, I hate it. I think it's destructive to the LGBT community. I think it's destructive to kids. I think it's destructive to any rational, insane human being that actually wants to fight for the freedom and liberty of all. It's
Yeah.
horrible. Horrible. I fully reject it. I've been wide open about it, and I will continue to talk about it. Actually, on my reintroduction, I guess it's not a reintroduction, but I did take a long break after my mom died because I didn't want cameras in my face when my mom died. Sorry.
No, you're good,
I
dude.
will be introducing a Wednesday segment starting this Wednesday about midweek politics. One of it is what is going to address this, and it's specifically how predators and pedophiles are being disguised under the LGBT community. Period. Full stop. And the censorship that's going on with anybody that rejects what's happening in that movement right now. Movement. It's not a movement. It's government controlled, government operated. It's a CIA op. It's very reflective of Mao's Cultural Revolution and trying to separate generations because freedom is only one generation away from being destroyed. And as much as I don't like Ronald Reagan, that was a great quote, right?
He has a lot of good ones, but
He has a lot
God
of good quotes.
damn it, he took my machine guns.
Yeah, and much more. It's just he is not the liberty-minded person Republicans pretend that he was. But I completely reject it. I completely dismiss it. I hate it. I even made a meme about it that went relatively viral, or at least for my standards. And saying, well, why can't you just the old OG queer community? Why can't it just be normal? Why can't you just go back to I just don't want the government in my bedroom and stop trying to indoctrinate other people's children? And let me say this too. I hope this doesn't get you kicked off, but I'm going to say it on mine. The reason that they do this, make no mistake, the reason that they do this is because the leftist far progressive agenda, they are not producing children. So the only way to advance their agenda is through your children. So no way, no chance. Do not reject at all costs. Okay, children should not be involved in this. Full stop. This is adult issues. I cannot stand it. I hate it. I have 3 kids. There's no way. I have a 14-year-old daughter that lives with her mom. And fortunately, because I know more about this than she does, I have her ear. And she listens and she respects it. Because I'm informed. Because I'm an educated person on the subject matter. And there's no chance she asks me, like, what are all these other issues going? Well, it's all garbage. It's all garbage. Number one, men are men and women are women. Okay? If you want to grow up and be, as an adult, you want to be something else. I'm not against that. And I will fight alongside with you to make sure that government intervention doesn't prevent you from living your life in pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness. So long as it doesn't hurt people to take their stuff. I'm good with that. I'm there with you. I'm there, and I've ran into these issues that I've fought against with other people in that community. Saying there's no reason why it should be easier for my wife to get her name changed. Easier and cheaper monetarily, specifically. Okay, that's very important. Monetarily and easier for my wife to get her name changed than somebody that is trans to get their name changed. That's ridiculous to me. I'm right there with you. I will fight that battle for you. But don't drag my damn kids into it. Don't drag my kids into it. Don't drag any kids into it.
It's not your kids.
No, it's not a kid issue. Leave them out of it. Full stop. It's an adult conversation. And when they turn over 18, then we can have the conversation. But 100%, I will fight against you all day long if you try to drag minors into this, because I reject it at all costs.
Shout out to Tommy from Colorado Ped Patrol. They're one of those pedophile catching groups.
Nice.
And kind of gained a friendship with him over the past little while, and him and his team do great work, honestly, out there catching some very sick people. But I wanted to highlight this real quick. A tweet from Andy No.
I like Andy No a lot.
Yeah, I do too. I really recommend his book, Unmasked, about Antifa.
Absolutely.
It was phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. I'm actually on my second read through of it because there's just so much to absorb. It's
Yeah.
but so anyone just listening for all of my blind viewers. Today, a group of armed Antifa members came to Roanoke, Texas to support a drag queen event. The local chapter of the John Brown Gun Club, an Antifa militia linked to domestic terrorism, led the call to direct action. It is headed by Christopher Goulet, I don't know, and Garrett Lee. So it's a picture of armed Antifa at a drag queen family event, which is oxymoronic. That's it's interesting. Exactly what's going on, and I was making this comment to can't remember who I was saying this to, but the fact that they had to have armed Antifa show up kind of says more about the event than I think that they wanted it to.
Yep.
Not to mention fuck Antifa. Seriously,
Yeah.
fuck those guys.
Yeah. They're not anti-fascist. They're
No.
pro-fascist. They're pro-fascistic. They're pro-violence. They're pro-murder. They're pro-war. Period. Full stop. They're a
Yep.
disgusting entity. They're who know? I know a lot of right wingers try to claim that they're George Soros operated and funded. I'm not sure that I go along with that boogeyman of George Soros. I know he's a bad dude and he's funded a lot of.
I think he's up there with Henry Kissinger, but
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
But exactly how much play he has, I don't know.
Right.
That's speculation at that point. But I mean, he does have some play. He's doing something. Or
He
maybe not
absolutely does.
him, but definitely his money, his kids, something
he's-
tied to him is.
He's admitted that he has been able to fund the campaigns of DA prosecutors all across America,
Yeah.
far left, under the name of criminal justice reform, but not in the sense that we talk about.
Yeah.
Ridiculous, absurd criminal justice reform.
Yeah,
But
just catch and release.
yeah, I mean, not violent criminals, lock them up. Everybody else, we'll figure that out. Don't
Yeah.
put them in prison. But by the way, if that person is French or Cajun at all, you would say that name Guillot.
Guillot. All right, good to know.
But they may not be, French or Cajun. So
We'll go with that.
Guillot, Guillot.
Guillot. All right, that's good to know. So we'll wrap up on this. But how are things down in your neck of the woods?
Always great down here, man. I live in I'm not shy about talking about it. I just tweeted about it yesterday. Dude, I'm super happy I live in a deep red state where we didn't lock down during COVID, and I have virtually access to unlimited firearms. You still have to have the federal background check, but you get no response from those guys, so I just get my guns in about 4 days. Constitutional carry. I don't have to have a CCL, a concealed carry license, to carry my firearm concealed without anybody knowing it. We all agree and know and appreciate the fact that you should and should expect that everybody around you is carrying, and you might get smoked in the face. And so the crime rate is ridiculously low. Now, I would like to flip everything else gold, right? That's pretty gold right there. I want to make everything else gold. So with that being said, I'm good where we're at. No shutdowns, no lockdowns, constitutional carry, access, pretty as free as you can be in America. Although every single gun law is unconstitutional and should be abolished, we have to live within the confines of what we have right now and operate within the atmosphere that we're working in. And so that's where we're at. Let's flip these counties gold. And that's what I say to everybody. If you are so delusional that you think Democrats and Republicans are the same, then look no further than the last 2+ years. Forget that nonsense. They're not on equal playing field. One is far worse than the other, and the other is too incompetent and ridiculously stupid to fix it. So move to red states, get your freedom in whatever capacity it has at the moment, and flip their counties gold immediately.
Yep.
Gold now. We're not winning states tomorrow, but we can win counties this year.
Yep.
Full stop.
Exactly.
Move to red states, flip their counties gold. Don't be naive.
Run
Follow
for
the
state.
facts.
Run for state office. Run for any office you possibly can. In fact, I'm running for office this year. So,
Amen.
you know,
What office?
House of Representatives here in Utah. So,
Here in Utah. Okay.
yep.
That's
yep.
awesome. Libertarian Party of Utah likes a lot of my stuff. Follows me on
Oh yeah,
Twitter. All that.
yeah.
Yeah. Love
Good
it.
good people over here. Growing very fast over here. We've got
Get rid of Mitt Romney, man.
oh boy, even the Republicans here don't like Mitt Romney, so I don't know why they keep voting for him. But our issue over here is that we have Democrats that run as Republicans. So that it might be a deep red state, and anywhere outside of Salt Lake, it's very red. But Salt Lake County is like the one blue county, and I mean that's the big city
It's like
for
every
us.
freaking state in America.
Yeah, exactly. It's
Every big
the
city's blue. The rest of the state is red.
exactly, and other than that, even the Republicans outside of Salt Lake County don't like them. So,
I can't imagine why.
yeah, exactly.
I've
November
no
could
clue.
not come quick enough, and
He
usually, I'm a Halloween fan, so usually I'm not saying that. I'm like October, stay here, but November, I'm excited for it, and I'm up against a Republican and a Democrat, but weak Republican, Democrat that's never won office. We'll see.
Nice.
So hopefully we'll have a state level libertarian.
Amen and a women. And at the very least, if you don't get rid of if you don't win state representative in Utah, for the love of God, Utah, please get rid of Mitt Romney. You're talking about
Yes.
one of the worst freaking, not that any Republican. There's a couple of, I'm a big Thomas Massey fan,
Yep.
a big Rand Paul fan. They could both be better. Yes, obviously. And we can all be better. Okay?
Yeah,
But
exactly.
Mitt Romney is disgustingly horrible. Fire him.
Yep.
Now.
Up there with the Bidens and the McCains, and he's right in that club. So
Yep. Well, let me know what you need to, moving forward on getting elected and, making
Yeah,
the
for sure.
push towards liberty in the state of Utah. DM me and let me know so that I can get that word out there, because I didn't realize you were from Utah, and I know that the Libertarian Party of Utah follows me on like every platform, share a lot of my stuff,
Yeah, for sure.
a lot of my stuff. But I haven't had too many representatives of the Libertarian Party and the Liberty Movement specifically, not the LP. We don't care about parties. We care about liberty. We care about freedom. And let me know what I
Yep.
can do to help, please.
yeah, for sure, you got it. Let everyone know where they can find you, what you have coming up, and just shout out whatever you want.
Awesome. Thank you, man. Basically, the easiest way that I tell everybody is you can just Google me, right? Like, I'm the only Cajun Libertarian with any sort of actual following. And so I'm the first one to pop up when you Google Cajun Libertarian. But you can find me on Twitter's my main thread now, because Facebook just crushed my gigantic, well, to my standards, 27,000 followers in 9 months, I thought was pretty freaking outstanding.
That's pretty good.
They slit my throat. And so I don't mess with Facebook too much anymore. I can't stand them. I hate them so much. Twitter's been relatively good to me. So follow me on Twitter at the Cajun Libert 1. It's Liberty, but place the Y with 1. And then Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, obviously, the Cajun Libertarian, all over the place. And subscribe to my anchor.fm, please. That's the best way that I get paid. You listen for free. I'm on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, basically anywhere you can get your podcast. And if you subscribe to my anchor.fm, you can listen to all of my fantastic guests, even as horrible as I am, and you don't like my ugly mug. Fortunately for you, if you log into the Anchor, either on Google, Apple, or Spotify, then you don't have to see it. But you do get to listen to my amazing guests like Spike Cohen, who is, I can't even count how many times been on my podcast, Matt Kibbe multiple times, Carol Roth, who is an amazing economist, who was on Glenn Beck program every week. Glenn Beck liked a couple of my tweets. I start throwing that out there because I'm kind of fanboy there. I'm not a huge fanboy of Glenn Beck, but I do really appreciate and I do believe
he's coming more to our side.
Team, oh yeah, for sure. And I believe his journalistic team is the best on earth. I genuinely believe
I'll second that.
Yeah, what they're doing is actual, honest, investigative journalism, and so I'll take that all day. I don't care. And he doesn't identify as a Republican, but obviously he's pretty Republican, very conservative. I'll say this: he's very constitutionalist. But Matt Kibbe on the show a couple of times. Anyway, all that being said, amazing guests: Dave Smith, Scott Horton. The lineup is ridiculous. I always tell myself, don't go down the list of names because you're going to forget people. And I feel bad for it. But just to throw a few names out there, phenomenal guests. Please follow me on there. And I'd love to follow up with you, Jacob, and make sure that we can do whatever we can to get your race to the maximum point of win. Right?
Yeah, for sure.
I want to win.
Yeah, and I definitely want to get you back on the show. It was a lot of fun. And we've got more to talk about, always.
Yeah, a lot more.
So thanks for everyone for catching the stream. You can pretty much find me at risetoliberty.com/links. That is the master link that pulls up everything everywhere we are. YouTube, Rumble, Odyssey, DLive. That's pretty much where we stream. We've got midterms coming up, so God only knows if I'm going to be around on YouTube. So if you do not find me on YouTube, if I have not posted in 2 weeks, because that will be my second strike, Odyssey, that's where you can find me. So right on, man. Thank you so much for coming, and we'll chat offline, or I guess online, but off video. And thanks again. And everyone else, until next time, stay free, my friends.